President Obama, again telling us we're not at war with Islam, again being an apologist for the Islamic faith, and again refusing to say that we're dealing with Islamic terrorism. Don't worry, friend. I won't let him deceive you. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
When we were off the air, Billy Bob asked me, he said, do you think that Obama doesn't know the truth about Islam, or that he is being willfully deceitful? I don't know. My gut is that it's willful deceit. Remember, his father was a Muslim. He was raised as a Muslim. So he was exposed to more Islamic culture, Quranic readings, the study of the Hadith. This is a man who has to know that Muhammad killed people, that he ordered the beheadings of hundreds and hundreds of people, that he killed with his own hand, okay? He has to know that. So therefore, my inclination is to say that he's being willfully deceitful. But I'm committed to you to not let you be deceived if you want the truth. So let's begin with some of our president's false assertions that we're not at war. Yes, we are at war. We're at war because Islam, historic Orthodox Islam, has declared war on us, the house of infidels, the house of Islam, the house of surrender against the house of infidels or the house of war. That's Islamic theology, and this war was launched by Muhammad himself, the founder of Islam. So since we're at war, we must know our enemy. Now, in this program, we have repeatedly delivered to you an accurate representation of Islam as founded by Muhammad. And I've done research for years, multiple years, with thousands of hours examining the Muslim texts regarding Muhammad and early Islam, okay? And early Islamic terrorism, and then comparing it to modern Islamic terrorism. Now, as we've gone forward, if you've been shocked at points about the truth that Muhammad, in fact, killed with his own hand, that he owned 2 sex slaves, that some historians say 4. We know the names of 2 of his sex slaves, Maria and Rehana. If these things have shocked you, that Muhammad oversaw the distribution of women as sex slaves, if it's shocked you, it's okay. Most of us were taught that religion is a good thing, that we should be tolerant of other people's beliefs. If we want to convert someone to our religion, we talk, we discuss, we debate, we reflect. Not so with Islam, okay? From the Battle of Badr forward, to debate Muhammad or to insist on practicing the religion of your fathers was to die or ensure your slavery. So, as we learn the truth about Muhammad and Islam, it's very difficult for us because part of our very psyche as Americans is religious pluralism. We don't have a state religion. Now, I would argue that this republic was founded on the principles of the Old and New Testament, and I believe it was Madison who said that our government is unfit for any people but a Christian people, okay? And many of our state governments did in fact have an oath. To become a state official, you had to swear an oath that you were either a Christian or you believed in the Old and New Testament. So Christianity was a part of the very fiber of our nation. But it is a legitimate legal argument that the current Constitution is not a distinctly Christian document overtly, with the exception of course, it referencing the year of our Lord. All right, so we're very tolerant, we're very peaceful when it comes to religion. We've had a lot of debates, And we've done a lot of evangelizing all across the world, literally sending missionaries everywhere. We send more missionaries and more mission funding from America right now than any nation in the world, all right? So we believe in Christianity, we believe in evangelism. But Islam is very different, okay? Islam, when Muhammad preached for 10 years in Mecca, he had 200 converts. When he finally left Mecca and went to Medina and launched the Battle of Badr, about a year after he got there, that began a cascade of one battle after another where he converted people with a sword to their throats. And those who wouldn't convert were either enslaved or decapitated. Okay? So we've got to know our enemy. I'll be right back. How would you like your name or the name of somebody that you love to be listed as a producer of our upcoming series, What Would Muhammad Do? If you are in a position to give a $1,000 gift, we have to buy some computer gear and some 4K monitors that cost about $12,000. One computer and 2 monitors, $12,000, because they're broadcast quality. This is not a Hewlett-Packard laptop, okay? If you can be one of those 12 people who give $1,000 or more, we will list you as a producer in the series, What Would Muhammad Do? Or if you want to do it in memory of a loved one, we will do that as well. Please, go to the GoFundMe site you see, watch the pilot, and if you say, I want to be a part of that, give a $1,000 gift, and we will put you or the person you choose as a producer of this TV series. I thank you in advance. God bless you. Once we know the truth about Muhammad and Islam, historic, orthodox Islam, as started by Muhammad, then the question is, all right, what should we do? Our ultimate goal is to protect ourselves, but it's more than that. We want to prevail. They've declared war on us. Islam has declared war on all other religions, and our goal is to win the war. And there's been a lot of defeats in the last 1,400 years. Okay? Don't kid yourself. Istanbul used to be Constantinople. That beautiful church, Hagia Sophia, was stolen by the Muslims after they killed the priests and raped the nuns and slaughtered heaven knows how many people in the church who had fled there for sanctuary. Now, there are specific steps that we can take to prevail, and that's what I want to talk about for the next couple of days. All right, just some hands-on ways that we can move the ball towards victory instead of continuing to step back and being confused by apologists like Islam, or rather like Obama or CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, who lie to us as a matter of course. As individuals and communities, in domestic public policy, in foreign policy, there are ways that we can take steps to prevail. And I've looked at Winston Churchill many times on this program. And one of the things that sets Churchill apart is that he knew his enemy. His foresight and his courage helped save Judeo-Christian civilization from the Nazis. And Churchill also provided us with a warning. Appeasing your enemy does not stop your enemy. Appeasing your enemy strengthens your enemy. Before World War II, the leaders of England and France and multiple other European nations adopted the policy of appeasement. They gave Hitler what he wanted. They caved into his demands. They looked the other way when he violated treaties, when he assassinated political enemies, when he invaded weak nations and brutally persecuted and slaughtered the Jews. The French and the British leadership just kept appeasing. Those who had the power to stop Hitler refused to do so. And appeasing the Nazis at that time ensured that the world would be plunged into world war and that tens of millions of lives would be lost. Lives that probably would have been spared were it not for the madness, the insanity of appeasement. And this fatal mistake must not be repeated. Islam cannot be appeased. You cannot appease a religion that is committed to your destruction, your death, or your enslavement. It cannot be appeased. Muhammad's marching orders to conquer the world for his religion cannot be wished away. We look at current Islamic terrorism as if it were something new. No. It's never ceased. Just think about this. In the last century, over 1 million Armenian Christians were slaughtered in Turkey by Muslims in the 20th century because they were Christians. That's where the word genocide was coined. Did you know that? It wasn't coined with the Jews. It was coined with the Christians in Turkey who were brutally murdered by the Muslims. From the dawn of Islam to the present day, every century has seen tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands, slaughtered, and many more women and children enslaved. Sex slaves, young boys who were Christians turned into monsters, warriors, janissaries, they were called, for Islam. In every century, Muslim armies and terrorists have destroyed churches and synagogues. So as we consider ways to defeat this menace, we would do well to remember that millions and millions of men, women, and children have already been crushed under the heel of Muhammad. And contrary to anything Obama says, or anything Secretary of State says, or anything the Attorney General says, this is a warning to us, all right? Their demise serves as our warning. Let us heed that warning. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas referred to John Locke twice in his dissent in the Obergefell decision. John Locke is referred to as the philosopher of American liberty. He was a genius, and he not only believed in natural law, but he believed in revealed law, the Word of God, the law of God. And he is one of the two most influential philosophers on the founders of this republic. We are offering you this book, and I'm going to give you my book as well, The Sword. The Sword, the subtitle is The Blessing of Righteous Government and the Overthrow of Tyrants. It looks at what is the legitimate purpose of government and when is it our right to overthrow government like they did with the Declaration of Independence. We will send you these two books if you simply pay for the shipping and handling, $8, and then give whatever else you want. And by the way, the $8 doesn't cover our cost, but if that's all you can afford, we'll send them to you for the $8. God bless you. President Obama testifies that we're not at war with Islam. Islam is a religion of peace, refuses to say Islamic terrorism. Whose testimony do you believe? His or the testimony of the millions of men and women and children who have suffered and died under the sword of Muhammad for centuries? We've got to understand that the atrocities in Paris, Chattanooga, San Bernardino, London, at the Twin Towers, and nations around the world, these actions reflect the words and the deeds, the often bloody deeds, acts of war from Muhammad. Now, here are some actions that we can take as individuals and in our communities, all right? First of all, I want to invite you to encourage your friends to watch this show. Now, we're on about 130 stations right now. But once the show's over, it's over. Well, all of our shows are online, and they're all free. So if you see something on this show, like, man, I wish my pastor could see this, or man, I wish my worker or coworker could see this, send them to the website, voiceofresistance.com, and they can watch any show we've done. They can pull them up by topic. And if you're a part of the Tea Party or any number of different groups in homes or churches, then go ahead. Tell your friends about this. Tell them, look, you need to watch Randall Terry if you want to understand Islam. This is a good starting place. Understand what we're facing. But another thing that you can do, and that we all should do, is to study Islam on Muhammad's terms. Let Muhammad speak for himself. Don't read what other people say about him. Read him. Okay? A starting place is to read the life of Muhammad. This is the most sacred biography, according to Muslim scholars, about Muhammad's life. It's written by a man named Ibn Ishaq. It's the gold standard of biographies on Muhammad. Today's headlines of terror reflect that record of horror. But if you really want to focus on just Muhammad's words, read various collections of hadith. Okay? There's the spelling of the word, hadith. Sometimes it's with one D, sometimes it's with two. And there are several online collections in English of the hadith with search engines to focus on key words. All right? So once you get to a hadith that you want to study various words like jihad, women, slavery, sex slaves, concubines, hostages, beheadings, Jews, those who mock Muhammad. You can figure out words to put in the search engines, and then suddenly you're going to have sometimes dozens, sometimes hundreds of hadith of Muhammad talking about things so brutal that we want to believe that this cannot possibly be true, but it is true. Study Sharia law. Read this book, The Reliance of the Traveler. Okay? This is one of the oldest volumes on Sharia law on the planet. And when you read it, it's a fairly quick read. This book will show you why Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Egypt, Yemen, so many other Muslim nations have oppressive laws, why they persecute and kill non-Muslims. It's right there in Sharia law. And while Western nations are just beginning to grasp the threat of Sharia law, non-Muslims around the world have lived under Sharia law for centuries. For example, the Coptic Christians of Egypt have suffered brutality, subjugation, and death for 1,300 years just because they are Christians and they refuse to give up their Christian faith, and they live amongst Muslims who are ruling under the concepts of Sharia law. Those Coptic Christians are not the victims of random terrorism. They are the victims of systematic persecution and murder under Islamic Sharia law. So read Sharia law so that you can understand that when President Obama tells us we're not at war with Islam, he's lying, because Islam is at war with us. Friend, this TV show represents a mission. It's to be a voice of resistance to the evil in the land, but also to inspire people like you to take a stand at any level that you might be able to equip you, to inspire you, to challenge you, to give you the rhetorical ammunition that you need. But we still have to pay bills. This program, as you know if you're a regular viewer, we don't spend a lot of time raising money. We don't spend a lot of time saying, oh, you need to buy this and we're going to run. No, we're bringing you a message, but we still have bills that we need to pay. I'm asking you, if you have been blessed by this show, to please go to our website or send a check to the address you see on the screen or call the phone number that you see on the screen and use your credit card, and to give $50 or $100 or $500 just to help us meet our normal expenses. And we'll keep bringing you this hard-hitting show. in this war, this clash of civilizations, which Obama and Hillary both want to pretend or even deny, they want to pretend it doesn't exist or deny that it exists. One of the key challenges that we face is the need for courage. Look what happened in Charlie Hebdo, okay? Someone speaks out, somebody mocks Muhammad, and they're threatened with death or they're brutally murdered. We need courage. I admit it. We have to have the courage to be a voice for our brothers and sisters around the world who are suffering. We have to have the courage to tell the truth about Muhammad using his words, using the historians of Islam. We have to have the courage to tell the truth about him and to discuss that truth in any setting that's required. You've probably heard that one of the victims of that brutal killing in San Bernardino, California, was a Messianic Jew who just a few days earlier had gotten into a debate about ISIS. And the murderer said, "You're not going to live to see Israel." He knew that he was intending to kill them. See, if we know the truth about Islam, this is tough, but it's true. If we know the truth, but we don't have the courage to declare the truth, then our knowledge is of very little benefit to our fellow man or ourselves. We've got to tell the truth about Muhammad and Islam in any venue we can, with friends, family, co-workers, our religious communities, or to wider audiences in our political meetings that we go to, Republican Party, Democratic Party, Tea Party, in letters to the editor, in online forums, call-in radio talk shows. If you get through, say the truth. We need to have seminars in our churches and our synagogues or in religious gatherings. And we need to understand how a moderate Muslim self-radicalizes. We hear media and the politicians say all the time, fundamentalist Islam is the problem, or radical Islam, or Salafi Islam. That's a new term they're using because it sounds highbrow. Those are the threat. Well, let's remember what those words mean. A fundamentalist is someone who goes to the fundamentals of a thing, to the foundation of a thing. In this case, a fundamentalist goes to the fundamentals, the foundation of Islam. An Islamic radical. Well, did you know that radical comes from the Latin word radix, which just means root? A radical Muslim is someone who goes to the root of Islam. Salafi terrorists. Well, Salafi means predecessors, forefathers. They're admitting that a Salafi terrorist is somebody who is looking at the predecessors, Muhammad, Abu Bakr, Ali. They're the forefathers. So a fundamentalist or radical or Salafi Muslim is a Muslim who practices Islam at its root, on its foundation, as practiced by the Muslim forefathers, Muhammad and his companions. Remember that Muslim terrorist in Oklahoma, Alton Nolan? That monster that beheaded that poor woman, Colleen Hufford? It was just outside Oklahoma City. FBI officials at the time, and may be the case now, they said, we're searching for a motive. How could they not see it? I'll tell you why they can't see it. The FBI's current policy is to refuse to look at religious ideology or religious beliefs when investigating the motives of Muslim terrorists. That means that they refuse to see the motive that is right in front of them. Muslims who are declaring that they are following and obeying the dictates of Muhammad. That's it. Nolan beheaded Colleen Hufford, God rest her soul, because he was imitating Muhammad. Muhammad beheaded people. So Nolan did what Muhammad did because that's his hero. It's his role model. Join me tomorrow. We will continue with this discussion about what we can do and hopefully spare some of us the heartache that is coming if we follow the lunacy of Obama's assertions. We'll talk to you tomorrow.